We're inside the Barclays Center, and I'm joined now by Patrick Stevens. You can see his bracketology reports as he's a contributor to the Washington Post. Patrick, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks so much again for having me in this annual tradition.
Yes, 3 years in a row now we've done this, because 3 years in a row Syracuse has been on the bubble. This year's no different, especially with this loss in North Carolina, which I imagine in itself obviously isn't the issue. It's just that they didn't get a feather in the cap.
Yeah, this was an opportunity loss more than something that's really going to be held against Syracuse. And so now I think you're sitting around waiting and seeing if other teams just kind of fumble their chances in the final week. The thing to remember about the edge of the field is that everybody that's going to be among the first four in and first four out, they're all losing their last game, and they're almost all going to be losing it this week. So it's a matter of, can you take advantage of opportunities, improve your profile more so than see yourself take a step back.
So almost point blank here, what are Syracuse's chances right now?
I think it depends on what so many other teams do. You know, does Louisville get knocked out early? Do you see a team like a Providence make a run in the Big East? Do you see Alabama kind of solidify its positioning? Do you see Baylor or Kansas State collect really big victories in the Big 12 tournament? Those are the teams to look out for in that case. And then you're looking out for bid thieves. You're rooting against the Davidsons of the world in the A10, which I think has a chance to make a run in that tournament. You're rooting against Boston College here in Brooklyn as they progress deeper into the bracket. So at this point, if you're Syracuse, you need those things to break right for you. In fact, it's a lot like 2 years ago when Syracuse loses the 8-9 game to Pittsburgh, and it's sitting around like, are they going to get in? And then everything broke for them, and in fact, they ultimately bypassed Dayton altogether.
And we all know what happened the rest of that way.
And that one worked out okay for the Orange.
So if you're Jim Boeheim and company and you're sitting there in the next 4 days, not that they lobby the committee or anything, but if you're touting your horn, you're selling your program, what is Syracuse hanging its hat on as resumes?
Well, I think the thing that Syracuse has going for it, besides not having a ton going against it, I mean, it lost to Georgia Tech, which it shouldn't have done, and it shouldn't have lost to Wake Forest. So those are a couple of losses that you would rather not have, but it's not as bad as some of the losses that they had on their profile last year, and they were on the road. They also won road games this year. And so as a result, you don't have that question of, well, can these guys win a game outside the Carrier Dome? We know that. We know that they've proven that over the course of the season that they can collect some pretty good victories. So they're one of those teams, and Louisville's kind of in this boat too, where there's not a whole lot that's bad about them. And sometimes that's enough. You know, I think the field is a little bit better at the edge this year than it's been the last couple, but Syracuse may still have enough to get in. I wouldn't want to tell you one way or the other at this point. There's just still enough stuff out there over the next 4 days to really sort out.
You know, and obviously there's a new quadrant system this year. How is that, in your opinion, changing what the committee does, or is that the big question?
That's a great question. And I think anybody that tells you, well, this is how this is going to impact this, I don't think they know what they're talking about. We don't have data points to actually be able to say, well, this is how the committee reacts to all this stuff. And so you're kind of going based on what their history is overall, even if it is a slightly different system or team sheet that they're looking at. So we'll have a better idea Sunday, but I have a feeling that you're going to see Syracuse one way or the other at this point, being right at the edge of the field. Maybe they're in, maybe they're out, but I think it's going to be one of those things where you're keeping an eye on the TV at 6 o'clock come Sunday.
Basically, typical Syracuse basketball in the mid-20s.
Standard issue at this point, no different. We could have just used a tape from one of the last 2 years, right?
We really could have. As you said, it worked out a couple of years ago. Well, Patrick Stevens, what a pleasure as always. We appreciate your time, and I like you, but I hope we're not talking about this next year.
Fair enough. Thanks so much for having me.
No problem. Thank you.